You know who the real victims in all this is? Those poor kids who are never going to get to use that perfectly fine summer camp. I thought that would get a bigger reaction, but whatever. Shut up. Hey everyone, it's me, Aaron.
And I'm Michelle.
And this is THORGIWEEN, in which every single day this month we are putting out videos based on everything spooky and scary. And of course, today is Friday the 13th, which means we are going to have to review John Carpenter's Halloween. Oh, that got something. Alright, now, of course, we're talking about the original Friday the 13th film. And I know that many of you would probably prefer that I put out a review rather than a post-geek out reaction, simply because the post-geek out reactions aren't reviews where I come in here and think of everything I want to say and write it all out and give you a score on it at the end. The post-geek out reactions are just our open, honest thoughts about the thing that we just watched. It's just a discussion between the two of us. So I was going to do a review since it's more professional, but here's the thing. I saw Friday the 13th when I was like 13, 14 years old, just when I was starting to get into horror films. And I watched it and went, I don't really care for this, but I learned early on that I just don't like slasher films. And I've talked about that here on this show before. Like, slasher films, they just don't do it for me. Like, there's a lot of different horror movies out there that really have an effect on me. Slasher films, I've always kind of just looked at them like, why don't you just go and run? Why don't you just beat them with that thing that's right there? That's all right. They don't do it for me. It's really hard for me to put myself in the shoes of the people in the situations of slasher films. Because I know that if I was in that situation and someone was coming at me with a knife, I'd be freaking out. I probably wouldn't think of like the obvious things to get out of there. Yeah, but when I'm watching it as a movie, I can't help it. I can't put myself in those shoes. And that's why I've always had that disconnect with slasher films. So I watched this when I was like 13, and I was like, you know what, I don't care for it, but it's probably just because I don't like slasher films. I never returned to it. I watched some of the other Friday the 13th films since then, had different opinions on those, but this original one just never really did for me. So we went back and we re-watched this. It's not that I just don't care for this because I'm not into slasher films. I think this movie sucks.
It does not hold up.
I don't think it held up. Then it got bad reviews when it came out. People panned this. They did not enjoy this. But I thought, you know what? There's a lot of films that people hated when it came out, but over time, it built up that audience, and it proved why it had an impact. This is the first time that I really, in like my adult life, have sat down and watched this, and just looking at it now more objectively, I think this thing is a bad film.
Yeah,
I can't, man. I really wish that I could hide that, and like that's one of the reasons why we're doing this rather than a review, because the post-geek out reactions are way more enjoyable to the audience out there when we don't like the film, but also because, man, it would be really hard for me to go in and do a review where I don't spoil stuff about the film and really cover all the reasons why I think this is bad, because I wasn't really digging it for the first, like, 2/3, 3/4 of this film, but I was like, it's got some stuff going for it. But when it gets to that last 20 minutes of the movie, oh my god, I started hating this thing. Just hating it. So, yeah, that's why we're not doing the review.
Yeah, like, the thing is, like, it's not paced well.
It's not.
There's some killing, like...
And there's not really anything in this film at all. Like, man, it'd be one thing if we just watched this, but the day before this, spoiler for an upcoming review that we're doing, we watched Halloween, and this one has so much in common with Halloween, except Halloween did everything better in that, and it's, man, when you can point directly at something that you just saw, and this came out 2 years after it, and it's very obvious they were like, oh, this is what people are into now, we're gonna do that. So it's one thing when you can, like, it's that old meme of, hey, can I copy off your homework? Yeah, but don't make it too obvious. It's like, yeah, man, it's one of those things where I can see what you were cribbing from, and you didn't do it nearly as good. And we'll go into all the reasons why I'm saying that. But one of the reasons why, right off the bat, is that not a lot happens in the Halloween film, but they spend all that time setting up tension.
Right.
There's just a lot of nothing happening in this film. Like, they go to the camp. That's it. This whole movie is a bunch of camp counselors show up at a camp the day before, a couple days before it opens, and then they just die. They're just murdered. That's it.
Well, there was that, like, very quick moment in like 1950s.
58.
Yeah, where they show, well, not really show, but like, two camp counselors make out and they end up getting killed. But,
Yeah, and
and you never, once again, you don't see the killer's face. You don't see
you don't see any of that, which that's something that we're going to get into, but I will say that's how this film opens. It opens up with the camp counselors in 1958, and it's from the point of view of the killer as they walk in on them having sex, and then they get up, and the killer stabs one of them, and then the other one's like freaking out and running around. And it was in that moment that I went, this is everything that I hate about slasher films. Because she was running around this room loaded with things.
Like, they were up in, like, the
they
barn.
They were in an attic or something, where it's just a bunch of stuff in storage. And I just kept looking at that like, grab literally anything and throw it at them. Like, there is a, like, stack of boxes and a tire on top of it. And it's not even like just the rubber part. It's got like the hubcap in there, but it's like not for like a full cart. It's like for a go-kart kind of thing. So it's like maybe this kind of around, like not a giant heavy thing that would be hard to lift. Like maybe 20, 25 pounds max. So anybody could really lift this thing. It's got that heavy metal hubcap in the middle. Pick that thing up and just start swinging it at this person. And she runs to one side, comes back, puts her hands on it, goes to the other side, runs back, puts her hands on it, goes back to the other side, and just keeps dancing around this thing. It's like, Jesus Christ, you have like the perfect thing to fight them off with right there. Like, that's my problem with so many slasher films. Is like, at least try. At least go down swinging, man.
Well, when they do go down swinging, it's not very impressive. Like,
does anyone go down swinging in this? Because that's one of the other problems with this is that you never see who the killer is in this. Because spoiler alert for anybody out there who doesn't know about Friday the 13th, the first one, Jason doesn't appear in this franchise until the second film. Well, at least not as the killer. The killer in this one is Jason Voorhees' mom, because she's taking revenge on the camp counselors who were having sex with each other instead of watching her kid, and he drowned. And I'll get into why that's a problem in a little bit. But they want to hide who the killer is, so you never, ever see them in here. Which means that rather than, like, say, in John Carpenter's Halloween, where you would have people doing stuff in the foreground, and then you would have Michael Myers there in the background, just being real creepy, just, like, moving around, just standing there staring at them. It's like, oh, God, what's he gonna do? You can't show that. So it's just a lot of people doing stuff. And then occasionally, like, it'll frame a shot in a way that's like, oh, something's gonna come through the door. But then nothing can come through the door because we're not allowed to see this person. Or it'll, like, show the killer's point of view. But again, it's like, the moment that you see the killer's point of view, you know they're going to die. You know no one is going to see this person when no one's allowed to see who they are, and they're going to make it out. So it's like, basically when it goes in the point of view, it's like, well, no suspense because they're going to die. I will, before we continue, I will say some positive things about this. Like I mentioned, there's a lot of moments where there's just nothing going on, but there are actual some shots where it is building suspense, so I'll give it that. It's not like all of them I had a problem with.
Yeah, there were definitely some suspenseful moments, but then it would just cut away to nothing, so...
Yeah, it's like, there's a lot of moments where it's like, oh, something could be happening, and then it just doesn't. And like, as much as I hate saying it, because there isn't much soundtrack in this thing, and a lot of the suspenseful shots are shot exactly the same way that a lot of the regular shots are, it really did make me kind of go, is this supposed to be a scary moment or not a scary moment? I don't know if you're trying to lull me into a false sense of security or if nothing's just going to happen in this scene. I'll also say, though, they do have kind of like a Hitchcockian thing happening here by having the girl who very clearly was set up to be the main girl in here be the first one that gets killed. It's like, that's actually not bad. And the music that was actually playing as she was running really sounded like the Psycho music. Like not the one, but more the, like, when she's driving the car in Psycho, the da-na-na-na, like that one kind of. So, okay, I actually kind of dug that. And also, I'll say, when I saw this for the first time, I thought that the characters kind of sucked. And while I think they're kind of non-existent, I thought they were annoying the first time I saw it when I was, like, 13. Now, like, you know what? Actually, they're not bad.
No,
they actually feel like real people, and they don't feel malicious in any way. They don't feel like they're negative, mean people. Like, when I was a kid, it was like, oh, that guy is, like, making really bad jokes the whole time. That one guy's smoking drugs and all this. And I was like, now as an adult, I'm like, well, that guy's jokes aren't that good, and he shouldn't have shot that arrow so close to that girl, but aside from that, these guys are just regular people. So I kind of dig that they were able to capture that feeling of like regular people. It wasn't like a group of jerks and the one good one who we know is gonna live. It's like they're all pretty decent people. So I'll give it that. But man, I'm trying to think of other positives to this thing, but that was really it. That's all I got.
Yeah, it's like, I know like a lot of, like another example, like I hate going back to Halloween, but yeah, like in that one, there was like actually the non-scary moments actually like built up character. You got
There's a lot of character in that. Like Jamie Lee Curtis's character in there is a really darn good character, and it's because we had many moments to see that. Here, the only real moment we get with who our final girl is going to be is she wants to play strip Monopoly. It's like, okay, well, I guess you're kind of a fun-loving gal. That's really all I got from her.
Yeah, it's like there was not much character development with these guys.
With any of them, no. No, not Kevin Bacon. No. Yeah, that was a weird one. I remembered some celebrity was in here, but I forgot who. So when Kevin Bacon popped up, I was like, oh, shoot, Kevin Bacon. Okay. But let's see. Man, I don't want to jump right to the big problem I have with this at the end. I'm trying to think of any other things leading up to it. And one thing I will say is, the crazy guy who just keeps popping and go, you're all doomed, doomed. I was like, man, how does this guy even exist? Like, the town kind of keeps referring to him like, oh, that's just this guy. He just does all
Ralph
that.
Was his name?
Ralph, that was it. And
crazy old Ralph.
yeah, everybody's just like, oh, crazy old Ralph. And I was like, how is this guy a character? Like, nobody would keep going around just going, oh, you're doomed. And everybody just like dismisses it. I mean, they are kind of like, get out of here, we don't want to hear none of that. But I mean, it is so just like cartoonish. And in a thing where all the other characters feel very real, like he just felt completely out of place.
Yeah.
And the thing was, he never really served a purpose. That was my biggest problem with it. He shows up to warn them, but none of them were like, oh, I should have listened to that guy. Or he never gave them details.
No, he's like I was sent from God to warn you.
It's like, he's only there to kind of be creepy, and he's not really creepy, he's just cartoonish to me. And it's like, well, at least he'll hopefully give us some information. I mean, I'm sure this is the guy who tells us who Jason Voorhees is. No, he gives us literally zero information.
Like, was he supposed to be like the red herring?
No, I don't. Well, maybe. Yeah, maybe we were supposed to think that he was the one doing it. But the thing is, like, the second person to get killed was Kevin Bacon, and we see a hand go up and grab him, and it's like, that clearly is not a hand that belongs to that guy. So, yeah, at that point, I never for a second would have guessed it. I mean, that's another problem with this film. You watch it this day and age, you know who the killer is. So I can't really judge it as people who watched it back then for the first time not knowing this stuff. Maybe they would have thought he was a red herring. But again, the moment you see Mrs. Voorhees' hand, it's like, okay, that red herring is gone. Like, if you are still believing this at this point in time, I don't know what to tell you, man.
Like, gee, those are very well manicured fingers. Like,
yeah. Seriously, I was like, how does she keep herself so dainty when she's murdering people? Man, I feel like there's more that I need to talk about here, but that's another problem with this film. There's really nothing.
Yeah.
They hold on. This is an hour and a half, and there's just lots of shots and nothing. And a lot of the shots where things are happening, they hold on to it for a long time, like to cartoonish extents. Like the scene after she discovers the dead body for the first time, and she runs back into the house, and she ties the door shut, and then there's just a long-ass sequence of her piling up furniture in front of the door, and it got to a point in which it stopped being tense, and it just became funny.
Like the furniture was actually like falling over itself.
And she had to like start picking it back up again. And I was like, this doesn't feel like someone panicking. This feels like somebody who's just trying to stall because the director won't yell cut.
Yeah, like if you just fast forward and add the Benny Hill music, just. And another thing I noticed about that scene is the door opens outward. So there's no point in barricading it.
Why are you barricading the door?
I mean, that was literally the whole reason why she tied up the doors so it wouldn't open outward. But then she decided, oh, I need to barricade it because...
I can understand being so panicked that you just...
Yeah, I guess so, but...
Again, we as the audience and us in that moment, we weren't feeling scared by this. I mean, a scared audience probably wouldn't have questioned it. But because we're not scared, we were questioning the hell out of it, and... Yeah, man, it was kind of stupid.
Also, she like closed the blinds on some windows, but not others. So it's like
that kind of feels like the director was like, just stall, just find things to do in here and do them.
Yeah, but like you said, when you're in that state of panic, you do everything. So it's like they should just like close all of the windows and everything. So.
Man. Okay, let's go ahead and go into what my biggest problem with this is. Again, I did not remember a lot about this film from when I first saw it. So I kept looking for Mrs. Voorhees in this thing. Like, I kept just kind of like waiting. It's like, all right, when she got, like, I kept thinking, like, I have to have, like, blinked and missed her. I have to have, like, gone to the bathroom and seen the ammo and we forgot to turn it off. And, like, she was in there, like, no, Mrs. Voorhees, the killer of this thing, doesn't show up till the last 20 minutes of the film after everyone is dead except one person, and she just drives up and goes, oh, hello, I'm Mrs. Voorhees. And, like, it's framed in a way that's, like, almost like thunder should have, like, struck behind her. And, again, we as an audience who know the history of Jason and know all this, it's like, okay, well, we know about Mrs. Voorhees, but as an audience at that time, going into this first movie, could you imagine if, like, let's take Psycho, for example. Like, can you imagine if this was just a movie about people going to this hotel and then just one by one they keep getting murdered, and then, like, at the very end when only one person is left alive in the whole hotel, someone walks in the front door, hello, I'm Norman Bates. It's like, and? What's that supposed to mean? Yeah, like, she comes up like the audience is supposed to already know who she is, and it's like, no one has mentioned you at all throughout this. We got 20 minutes left. Are you meaning to tell me this is when you introduce who this is? And she goes in and it's like, oh, look at all this. Oh, it's terrible. Oh, this whole camp is horrible. Don't you know about the boy who drowned? My boy, Jason. They were too busy having sex to protect my boy, my precious boy. You're terrible. I must kill you. I was like,
that escalated quickly.
The fuck? I'm sorry. Seriously, like, was this supposed to be a twist? Like, I couldn't honestly tell if it was supposed to be a twist because it was supposed to be a twist. It's stupid that you just introduced who the killer is in the last 20 minutes only to have them immediately reveal, oh, and I'm the killer. Like, there is not, like, I cannot imagine an audience at that point in time being surprised by this. Like, everyone is dead. Everyone in this entire movie except the old guy who's been warning them about death, and we know that wasn't his hand. And then all of a sudden, Mystery Lady shows up at the end, and it's like, okay, now we're gonna build up to who she is. Nope, she's the killer immediately. Go there, bam, done. It's like, this is insanity. That, like, you decide to introduce all this at the very end. It almost feels like, man, this is what made me really go, I really just don't like this film. I don't think this is a good film. When she came in and she started saying all this, it made me realize this came out 2 years after Halloween. Halloween was a big success. It's really clear this was made to try and, like, go along with that success, to, like, ride those coattails. And it made me realize they thought up the concept of campers go to a camp, camp counselors go to a camp, just got killed off one by one. That was their pitch. And they did not think about how to resolve that until they got to the end of that script and they went, oh God, what are we gonna do? Like, they literally just had to write something there at the end. They had nothing. And I know people are gonna go, no, they set some stuff up, and they're like, they heard that night. Like, that one girl, she heard Jason's voice screaming for help out in the distance. It's like, again, that is a real quick, let's go back in there after we thought of this and add something in there to make it seem like we had this plan. I was like, this movie is not planned out. It is not at all. But then after that, like, again, we've had kind of like pretty realistic characters throughout this, except for that one crazy old guy. And then after she comes in here and immediately goes nut job on her, when the survivor girl, Alice, I think it was, when she starts running away, Mrs. Voorhees just goes, kill her, mommy. Kill her for me. I was like, you are really relying on your audience to know who the fudge Jason is. Like, in the first film, where you did not introduce even the concept of Jason until 2 minutes ago.
No, it's like, she should have been like, "What's that, Jason? You want me to kill her? Yes, I'll do that. Mommy loves you."
That would have been a little bit better, but it still would have. It would have been a little less goofy to do it that way. But still, that concept that's like, you didn't introduce any of this until right now, and now you are just going, we gotta make up for lost time. Just lay it all on there.
Yeah, like if they just like introduced Mrs. Voorhees at like the beginning.
Had her be like someone standing there at the front, or like they help, like one of their cars breaks down, and she comes over and is like, oh, it's fine. Where are you going? Camp Crystal? Like, oh, have you heard the stories about that place? Oh, such horrible things have happened there. Like something like that. And then old man Ralph, or Crazy Ralph, comes in and goes, haven't you heard? It all started when that boy Jason drowned in the rivers. And it's like, and then Mrs. Voorhees comes and like they start looking into Jason. And it's like, yeah, this kid did drown. And like, oh my goodness, things have been happening since then. And then at the end, Mrs. Voorhees comes back and it's like, oh, I know her. She's the nice lady who saved us. And then they go, and then she goes, oh, did I not tell you? I just told you my first name at the beginning. Like, she introduces her by her first name at the beginning. Goes, oh, did I not tell you? My name is Voorhees. Or like they find like her driver's license in the car when the last girl gets in there to be driven away, and she finds it and goes, Voorhees. And I was like, yeah, like something. Like I'm not like this is just stuff I'm coming up with off the top of my head.
Well, like the thing is, like she used to like work as the cook at the camp, right? And like the girl in the beginning of the movie, she was also supposed to like be the cook for the camp too. So I was like, oh, Mrs. Voorhees is gonna like take her under her wing. She's gonna explain what happened to Jason, and and everything, and then it continues on with the movie.
Our point is, they needed to actually introduce this concept, and they don't do any of it until the very end of the movie. I know a lot of people out there, again, comparing it to Halloween. The thing, not to spoil like our discussion for Halloween that's going to come up in a week from now, but yeah, the thing that's so interesting about Halloween is the main character in there has no connection to Michael Myers at all, other than she happens to live on the same block that he lived on. That's the only connection that she has. That's the only connection that anybody in this movie has to him.
Yeah.
However, the movie freaking starts off showing you what he did all those years ago, and then the rest of this film, it's just her living her life, not connected to Michael Myers at all. There's no interactions at all, except for like every now and again she thinks she sees someone out there watching her or something, which again is more than this film does. Like you never get any of that.
There's no setup. That's basically that's it.
But in Halloween, you got Loomis going around the whole time like, death has come to this neighborhood. You wouldn't believe it. He was a monster. He just spent 15 years staring through the wall at this one particular day. Loomis is the greatest hype man in monster movie history. He just spent that entire movie hyping up Michael Myers. This movie, it would literally be like if you went back and re-edited Halloween and took out all the Loomis scenes and the opening scene with Michael Myers, and it was just Jamie Lee Curtis throughout this entire movie. That was it. And then at the end, oh my god, some guy just showed up and started like killing people. That's what this movie is. Man, yeah, that was the thing that made me just go, this is not me saying I don't like slashers. This is a bad film. They did not set any of this up at all. The pacing is terrible. And it so feels like just a cash grab that at the last 20 minutes, they're like, oh shit, we have to actually have this be a thing. We actually have to resolve some stuff in here. So yeah, man, I know this movie has diehard fans. And I'm sorry guys, but man, I can't get with you on this one. I really can't, and I really, really tried. Like I was sitting here up until those last 20 minutes going, listen, the only reason I don't like this is because I just don't like slasher films, but I can look at some positive things I did here and I can enjoy those things and applaud it, even if it didn't scare me, even if it didn't have an effect on me, I can applaud it for like doing the things that it did well. I can try and look it up objectively, but in those last 20 minutes, not only is it just the laziest we had to resolve something, she is a goofy ass villain. Like, I couldn't help it. Like I said, that thing I have about slasher films where I'm like, dude, try and fight back, try and run, try and do something. This is a little old lady. And all I could think was, there was that one moment in like the boathouse when she's coming in there and she's not even holding the knife when she comes in there. And I was like, you have the reach on her. She's coming at you slowly with no weapons. stand up off the ground, go up to her, BAM! Problem solved.
My hip.
Dude, seriously. Just Charlie Murphy her ass. One quick kick to the chest, it's over with, alright? She is not intimidating at all, and she is so just cartoonish. In a movie that, aside from the crazy old guy, was not cartoonish at all. In fact, even that final moment where she takes the machete and she's running at Mrs. Voorhees, and Mrs. Voorhees... That, like, slow-mo shot is the moment that made me go, this is dumb. I cannot.
The thing is, like, there were a lot of slow-mo shots when the victims were getting killed.
Yeah.
And it's just, like, them, like, standing, like, for, like, several seconds instead of, like...
They're weird shots. They really are.
Yeah.
Again, it doesn't help that we just watched Halloween, which is a well-shot film. Again, not a fan of slash films. I can applaud the crap out of the cinematography in Halloween. This is not very good. There's some shots that are pretty decent. I will give it to you. Like, there's the shot where the girl comes through the window. I was like, they framed that shot perfectly. Granted, they framed it so well, I could tell someone was about to come through the window.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's kind of what you're supposed to do in a shot like that, so okay, I get it. And the shot where the guy is fixing, like, the generator or something, and, like, they've got that open door perfectly framed. And I was like, man, that door, again, that had no effect on me because I knew that they were never going to show Mrs. Voorhees.
Yeah.
Because I knew you can't show little old lady walking in there who you have not met yet. But I guarantee you, audiences in the day who didn't know this stuff, they were watching that door like, oh god, oh god, oh god. So it's like, okay, there are some shots in here that are good, but there are some that are just bad. And that final shot of her going at Mrs. Voorhees, I was like, I can't get behind this film at all anymore. Like, this just got so stupid in the last 20 minutes. Anything? Oh, yeah, and also, we see Mrs. Voorhees, and she mentions her son, and then, like, we all know that shot, that famous shot of, like, Jason coming out of the war and grabbing her there at the end. And, like, just thinking about that shot, that's one of those things that everybody remembers about this, like, oh, man, that was, such an ending. But I don't know, maybe it was just because I had just given up on this, or maybe it's because I knew about that. But watching it again this time, and after just going complete, full-on, I don't give a crap, this is dumb territory, I looked at that and I was like, again, you barely mentioned Jason in here. Like, Jason is so, like, Mrs. Voorhees mentions that's why she's doing it, and then it's just her going, at the victims the whole time. So you're supposed to, like, expect me to suddenly, like, care about the deep backstory of Jason and whether or not he's alive in the water? And then it ends with her in the hospital and goes, what about the boy? The boy who attacked me and dragged me into the water. He's like, there was no boy. Then he's still there. I was like, or you had a bad dream, you idiot. I'm sorry, you came up with a concept for this film in the last 20 minutes, and then you have the balls to use that thing you pulled out of your butt at the end of this movie to sequel bait us? This is dumb. This is lazy and cash grabby as hell. And it's shocking me that this ended up becoming, again, I am only talking about the first film. I'm not judging any of the other movies.
Right.
And granted, I've only seen half the other movies, but I actually, I enjoyed them to some level or another. But yeah, it's just so weird to me that this movie that I am objecting to on so many levels ended up becoming something so much bigger than this. Like, I really feel like we should not have talked about this for Friday the 13th. We should have talked about, like, Friday the 13th Part 3 when Jason finally gets the mask, or, Part 6 where he comes back from the dead, because that's one of the few ones that I haven't seen, and everybody tells me that's the best one, so I was like, man, that would have been a great thing for us to do, but I was like, nah, we're gonna go back to the original. We're gonna start on the original. Man, I regret that. Whew! Yeah, it's just so... And this thing, like I said, it was panned when it came out, but it was panned because it's like, man, it's gory, it's just nothing but teenagers being killed. The gore doesn't bother me, but I'll agree with it's just teenagers being killed, not because that's, like, offensive, it's a slasher film. But it's because that's literally all it is. Like, did you try to give this thing a story? Yeah, I just find it offensive because it's like, there's no real story to this, and you just desperately tried to create one at the very end of this. This is the slasher film equivalent of, oh crap, I forgot my term paper was due tomorrow, and you pulled an all-nighter. And then at the end of it, they have the gall to look at this thing they just slapped together and turn to the audience and go, to be continued. It's like, no. Which, why am I saying no? I'm acting like this is a brand new film. It's like, man, you ain't gonna get squat. I'm like, no, it's not a becoming thing. This actually ended up becoming one of the biggest franchises on the planet.
And that's so weird, like, because there are, like, a lot of bad movies that do sequel baiting and, like, never catch on because they were so...
That, I was just about to say, that is the exact thought that just went through my head, is like, shit, that first Annabelle film was terrible. The second one was actually pretty decent. Oh my god. What if that ends up becoming the new Friday the 13th? Or like the Ouija board movie, I never saw either of those, but I do know the first one was, everybody said was awful, the second one, everybody said was great. So I'm like, okay, well if that ends up becoming something, it makes me think about every shitty horror film I've seen. And it's like, yeah, but it did well at the box office. Could this become a thing? Like, The Bye-Bye Man is the best example I can come up with, because we just saw that last week for THORGIWEEN, and it was awful. It was one of the worst horror films I've seen in a long time. It's one of the worst ones all year. But it did well at the box office, so I'm like, what if they come back and fix The Bye-Bye Man? And he ends up becoming the new Jason of our times. It's so odd to think about that's where this franchise went, when I really disliked this one that badly. And again, it's not even me just saying I don't like slasher films. It's me just going, not a good movie. This is a poorly put together film. And if you like it, awesome, man. I have a coworker who I talk about horror films with every single day. Friday the 13th is his favorite franchise. He loves the hell out of that franchise. So I understand people enjoy it, man. I understand mature film critics out there who have really smart things to say about movies, and just people who are genuine fans and feel passionate about things. They really enjoy this too, and I don't want to take that enjoyment away from anyone, but man, I cannot get behind you on it with this film.
Yeah, sorry, guys.
Yeah, sorry, man. It's, you know me, I never like to come in and rain on people's parades. I never like to go, oh, that's the thing you like? Well, let me tell you why it sucks. No, I hate people like that. But this is the post-geek out reaction. Our open, honest thoughts about the thing that we just watched. This was them, folks. This is why I didn't do a review on this, because I was like, if I sit down at a typewriter and type this out, it ain't gonna capture this passion. Because, man, I was just... It shocks me how much I forgot about this film. Like, because, yeah, I watched it when I was like 13. I was like, whatever, I don't care. And I just erased it from my memories. And as I was watching it, I was like, am I sure that I watched this before? Because I'm pretty sure I would have remembered something that did crap like this.
I don't know, this seems like... all the scenes where nothing happens seem to be pretty forgettable.
I think that's why it is. I think that's why I forgot. Like, I don't, like... I really think I probably, like, just... my memory of this was just like a foghorn. Just like, no. I don't remember. No. Because also, like, when I was, like, 13, I was also, like, checking out stuff like Evil Dead, and it's like... Man, that's a legit, like, very well-made horror film from almost the exact same time period. So, yeah, it's one of those where it's like, no, I found the stuff that I liked when I was a kid, and I held on to that, and everything else tossed to the side. I barely remember Nightmare on Elm Street, which I watched the exact same year I watched this one, and I liked that one. So, yeah, there's just some things that just didn't stick in my mind, and I'm kind of glad this one didn't. Just so that you guys could get all the reactions in this video.
It's like your mind is like deliberately blocking it out of your head.
We have to make room for important things. That's a total lie, because I will never forget The Bye-Bye Man, and that's not important at all. But yeah, thank you guys for tuning in, and again, I'm sorry if you guys like this and you just listen to me like insult the thing that you like. I hate ever having to come in here and be negative on something. Not just... Well, let me rephrase that. It's great when I'm negative on stuff because it gets amazing ratings. I hate being negative on things that I know other people really enjoy. Mm-hmm. Like, hell, we gave La La Land a B, and I walked away from that feeling really guilty. It's like, man, even that, like, I feel like real bad for giving something like that beloved, something like this. This movie is really beloved, and I am not giving it a B. I'm going way below that, so... Yeah, I feel really crappy about how I feel about this film, and I really apologize. I hope I didn't offend anybody, but hey man, if the internet's taught me one thing, it's that there's a lot of stuff that I love that all of you guys hate out there, so it happens. But yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. We're going to have a lot more reviews and post-geek out reactions like this coming out throughout the rest of the month. So if you want to see any of those, make sure that you click on that subscribe button. Make sure that you follow me on Twitter, Twitch, and Tumblr at Professor Thorgy. And also go on tpublic.com/user/Professor Thorgy. That's a new one that I have to remember.
Yeah.
Because yeah, we just got shirts up for THORGIWEEN, and you can check them out there. Thank you guys for tuning in, and as always, happy Halloween.